listening to me?
Huh? Oh, sorry. I was just admiring the stars. You were saying?
I said, looking up at the sky on a night like this, it's easy to believe that we're not alone. I wonder what's out there.
That's exactly what I was wondering, too.
Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very interesting Marvel Spider-Man 2 related video, where, yes, even though we have received probably the last official piece of information pertaining to the game for this year of 2022, with Insomniac Games finally confirming that the game is officially scheduled to release in the fall of 2023, me and my amazing buddy Podcast Now are going to be talking about what we are expecting to occur next for Marvel Spider-Man 2 going into next year of 2023. But Alex, how you doing today? What is going on?
Thank you so much for having me, buddy. It's always an honor being on and talking about a game that sure has a lot of mystery, for being one of Sony's biggest, but I can't wait to talk about it.
This is a very interesting time for a lot of us Spidey fans and PlayStation fans simultaneously, because we have to keep in mind that Marvel Spider-Man 2 is in fact a game published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, meaning that falls underneath the entire umbrella of all their major first-party games that they have to fully promote and market for next year in 2023. The games that we do know of right now is Forspoken, the Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. We also know that Hogwarts Legacy has some kind of exclusive marketing rights for Sony right now. A couple of the Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, are very, very hot games that are going to be popping up on the PlayStation platform. And of course, the big one that we are all looking forward to on the Marvel and Spidey side of things is obviously Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And with knowing that, we have to kind of theorize and speculate as to when we could possibly hear more about the game from Insomniac, Marvel, and PlayStation, but also what actual context of the game we could see be promoted from them, whether or not that relates to the form of a gameplay demo, a possible trailer with showcasing some behind-the-scenes stuff from the actors and developers working on the game, or what we are all really looking forward to is how big of a role Venom, or more specifically the symbiote, is going to have within the game, as to whether or not that character of Venom or Black Suit Spider-Man will end up being fully playable within the game itself. Will they actually show that as a piece of marketing material for the game to reveal before its release, or will they keep that secretive and just have the fans experience that by the time the game launches in fall of 2023? So Alex, what do you think about all this going into next year? And also, how do you want Insomniac to approach promoting the game by the time we end up hearing more from it?
It's tough because, and you and I talked about this before we went live here, I think God of War is kind of the odd playbook where you don't, and God of War, you could have a couple different reasons for why, story kind of spoiler reasons, maybe to kind of dispel the whole, it's just DLC, maybe you didn't want people to think that, whatever it happened to be. But, God of War took a very conservative approach where they just said, hey, we're not going to show you a lot of it, and we know you're still going to buy the game. And that's exactly, what happened. It wins Game of the Year awards, all over the industry. It sells like hotcakes, and they don't really show it at all. One thing they did do for God of War, though, right, is they did do back-to-back years of the big trailers, the PlayStation Showcase, and then this year's State of Play. So I think Spider-Man should follow that, honestly. And so I guess the first thing I'd look for would just be a trailer, like a simple 2.5 minute trailer where you kind of splice in some gameplay and then also some story. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Spider-Man's first thing they did was a teaser. God of War's was a teaser, but it was just the name, right? It was God of War Ragnarok. Spider-Man's was more action and showing Venom. I mean, I think actually Spider-Man accomplished a little bit more there. So that's what I would do first, is I would just do a simple trailer, and then as you get closer, start to show, I guess, more like uncut gameplay, more like deep dives. And, I've talked to you about it before, Evan, like, what Insomniac did for Miles was, in my opinion, kind of unheard of. Just the constant, every single day, posting on Twitter and social media. Like, it was, I mean, you were soaring with it because you were covering it, again, every single day, whether it be videos or Twitter. They did spectacular. Like, they really did well. So I wonder if they do, that again towards the end, right? Like the last month or two before the game comes out, just every day, something small just on Twitter, just for fans. But that's kind of what I would think. And that, of course, I'm sure we'll go back and forth. When do you start that? That's, the bigger question.
Absolutely, because we do know that Insomniac Games, as of right now, is currently on their holiday break, and they confirmed that they won't be returning to their offices until early January of 2023. However, a lot of people are thinking that right when they get back, that's when they're going to start promoting the game, where I do not think so, especially if you look at their previous marketing layouts for their past Spidey games. They always kind of wait until late spring or kind of early summer to start kicking things off. But what you interestingly mentioned about Miles Morales, it also looked pretty similar to Spider-Man PS4, where a lot of people were saying at the time, oh, it just is like a Spider-Man DLC. It's not really its own game, but of course it was its own standalone spin-off game, just more smaller in scope and scale compared to what this is with Marvel Spider-Man 2 being a full-on sequel. And the reason why all this is so important is because Insomniac, Marvel, and PlayStation have to do everything in their power to promote Marvel Spider-Man 2 as the next big step for the Marvel Spider-Man franchise, which, funny enough, is exactly what they worded on the PlayStation Store, the next game within the Marvel Spider-Man series. But you also have to showcase that with a gameplay demo or trailers, really putting at the forefront what this is doing completely different from the previous games. How much more intense is the story? Because Bill Roseman, the Vice President Marvel Games / Creative Director, has stated that this is in fact going to be a darker toned narrative compared to that of The Empire Strikes Back, which I can't wait for. We also have major villains like Venom and Kraven the Hunter entering the fray, as well as other possible heavy hitters like the Wraith and the Lizard, and of course, expanding the open world with Queens and Brooklyn. You really have to hit home that this is indeed the next full next-gen sequel of the Marvel Spider-Man saga, because again, this is a PS5 exclusive, not a cross-gen game like Miles Morales was, so you also have to promote why you, as a consumer, need to buy a PlayStation 5 just to play Marvel Spider-Man 2. And again, I would hope that they would start promoting the game and marketing the game as early as, I would say, either February or March, because we have to make sure that they cover all their bases before the game releases to really hit home to the Spidey fans out there, but also the general PlayStation consumer base as to why this game is such an important stepping stone for their library of PlayStation games that they will inevitably own.
No, I'm with you. I think the February-March time, we kind of both reached that together. Like, that's a really good time. You got Hogwarts, but beyond Hogwarts, I mean, there's other games. There's plenty of other games, but in terms of like a Sony-leaning kind of thing, I think that's a good time. And I mean, like you said, like there's a lot to do. You got to promote the PS5 idea. You got to talk about like what's it like if you can play with both of them at the same, or swapping back and forth, or is one an AI companion? Like however that works, you got to show it. There's plenty they can show without, I think, spoiling anything. So starting that February-March time, again, maybe just giving a base trailer, giving it a couple more months, and then like you said, I mean, because you think about Miles, right? Wasn't that shown in that June showcase, right? And then from that point on, it was just nonstop Miles things. So I mean, you can basically follow that if you wanted to, show something in February, March, take a couple more months off. Now, then you will have Spider-Man and Final Fantasy, kind of crossing each other, but you're not going to be able to give Spider-Man its own thing. You're going to have to cross them just because of the layout of next year for PlayStation. Kind of the same thing for Xbox. Eventually, there's too many games coming out where you're not going to be able to give them like a 4-month window all by themselves. It's just not going to happen. But I think it's a pretty solid strategy.
And I think the last point that we want to cover on this is exactly why the fall 2023 release window is such an important time frame to keep in mind. Because the reason why we didn't receive any type of big PlayStation-related event this year, besides the State of Play showcasing another trailer for God of War Ragnarok, I am obviously referring to a PlayStation Showcase where we get a lot of crazy in-depth trailers for all of Sony's huge, heavy-hitting AAA first-party games like that of Marvel Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Wolverine, maybe some other cool things that they have in the works like an Infamous remake, I hope, or Ghost of Tsushima 2. All those huge, major titles we did not see a PlayStation showcase this year in 2022 because of the current ongoing investigation pertaining to Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. Sony themselves needs to promote their games with confidence instead of hiding behind what the allegations are currently at right now for Microsoft and Activision. So, the reason why I bring this up is that hopefully they will see that a lot of people are disappointed with the fact that we did not receive a PlayStation showcase at all in 2022, and hopefully kick off the year strong with an early PlayStation showcase to possibly occur sometime in the spring of 2023 instead of later on in the summer or the fall, because they do have more games that are coming out, like Marvel Spider-Man 2, for example, that they need to really start marketing to the general public to be aware and inform them as to what exactly the game will entail compared to the previous Spidey games that have already released.
Yeah, so I think we're honestly in really solid agreement with the whole, hiding behind the things. I mean, like, I get it. I totally get it from really both sides. I mean, I think Microsoft is doing it too, right? Where they both have to be careful with what they talk about and how they show things and like where these games are coming from, because if they come from Konami and it's a Sony thing like a Metal Gear, which I think we kind of assume like it's gonna happen, that's not gonna look good. So, but the question is, do you hold it for like 2 years, because the game probably doesn't need, like it doesn't need that long. So they're both kind of running into this issue, and at least Microsoft did that huge June show this past year, and I think they did a really good job. So yeah, Sony needs to kind of do it. It's a pro-con. He's like, I totally get why they don't. And I mean, honestly, for as much bickering and talking like we're doing, it's not going to change their mind, right? It's either like, hey, we're going to let fans wait a little bit longer, or we're going to like lose this deal, which we value as like a really big deal. It's just how it is. But I think you're right. I mean, I think a showcase makes a ton of sense. They should have done one this year. I fully believe that. And I think they should do one next year. And like you said, Spider-Man 2, you got Final Fantasy 16, I think they've shown enough. But you have so many more things on the horizon from like the fall of next year on. There's probably dozens of games that are coming out that we're just not hearing about. It's a different era, and I don't think COVID is fully to blame for it. I think it's also because of the Activision Blizzard thing. But yeah, hopefully you can. I think February, March makes a lot of sense, and I think hopefully you could line it up with a showcase, because that would be kind of your big closing act of a showcase anyway. And if not, just do another state of play, I guess. The God of War one that we had in September, there was actually quite a few. It was the closest showcase you're gonna get, I guess, right? It was a state of play on steroids, and so hopefully we can get something like that again.
All we can do is hope for the earlier, the better it will be, but we all know that the wait for Marvel Spider-Man 2, regardless of when we will see it next, will definitely be worth it by the time the game launches in the fall of 2023. And with all that said, everybody, that is the video that me and my amazing buddy Alex from Podcast Now do have for you today. Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you think that we will receive a type of PlayStation showcase early next year in 2023 to start hyping up the marketing for Marvel Spider-Man 2? Do you think we could also see something like a Game Informer coverage for a month of details like we have received for the previous Spidey games? Do you think that we would actually see Venom as a playable character during the promotional material? Or would they save that as a possible hidden gameplay mechanic until the game launches in the fall of 2023? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments section down below, and I could not do this wonderful video without the one and only Podcast Now joining me with it. Thank you so much for joining me, Alex. I had a great time.
Thank you so much, man. It's always an honor talking to you. We always have a ton of fun, and so thank you so much for inviting me on for this.
And until next time, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 videos like this in the future. And also be sure to check out the collab that I did with Alex on his Podcast Now channel, talking about the Prototype series in a very entertaining and detailed discussion. But with all that said, everybody, stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and peace out.